Oh, welcome back. Welcome to post-episode issues. I'm Phil, the Issues Guy. This is for Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 5, Episode 4, Slabtown. That's right, Slabtown. And with me, as always, on these Walking Dead adventures is Joe Dirty Lock. Sorry I didn't give you a big introduction tonight, Joe. Joe and I are both playing injured tonight, so we're not giving up excuses. There's no excuses here. There's no crime. Both of us have a little bit of crybabyitis. We're both sick and feel crappy, but there's slight bits of crybabyitis. But we're here to talk about this episode of The Walking Dead and all the exciting stuff that happened tonight.
Yeah, I'm not quite as sick as Michael Jordan in the playoffs with the flu, but
No,
still.
but we're ready to score 52 points or 48 points, whatever Michael did, and talk about this. Now, everybody, if this is your first time tuning in here, please hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're curious and you are into iTunes or Stitcher, you can find the links to subscribe down in the description of this video. So please do that if you're inclined to listen to the audio as well. And if you're watching this live, please comment away, and we'll try to get to your comments during the show. Or also, if you're watching this anytime during the week, comment, and we'll try to get back to your comments away. We love keeping the discussion going all week long. It's really, really fun. And you can also tweet me at IGotIssuesMan. That's the ways you can reach us if you want to talk to us about what you thought about this episode of The Walking Dead. I need to be straight out right off the bat, Joe. This was my least favorite episode of the season. I wasn't completely feeling this. It's not that it's okay. I understand if someone's a Beth lover, and I like that The Walking Dead does this. I enjoyed what they did with the governor last season, with having an episode and a half, an episode about just his life and getting a little bit of a backstory. But
and they did it with Michonne and Rick. They did it with a lot of people, and they did it with Beth and Daryl last season.
And that was cool because Daryl evened out my lack of interest in Beth. I mean, it's not that I hate Beth. I just don't think she's a strong enough character for me to carry a complete episode. It doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the episode.
That's what this was for. This was to make her a more complete character, to show her evolution, to give her that same kind of kick-asses as Carol, that evolution that Carol kind of had too. And Maggie, Maggie was always kind of kick-ass, but still. And you knew this episode was coming. You knew it was coming from the moment that car drove off, that we were going to have a Beth-centric episode. So that was going to probably be just Beth. So.
Absolutely. It needed to happen. But I think the coolest thing to come from this episode is the whole pay what you owe thing and that concept. The concept of how that hospital worked.
Well, that wasn't pay what you owe. That was pay what I think you owe.
Yeah. Totally. It was a sort of a mafia type thing. Like
yeah.
Listen, we'll give you protection. We'll take care of you. You owe us money now. We'll be coming here every week. But
yep, you got to pay the company store. You can't. That's not right. You end up owing more to the store at the end of the month than you make from the company in the first place. So.
Now my question is, who's worse, these guys or the claimers?
The claimers are just as bad. I mean, they're just as bad. You heard the one copish guy saying, I'll have her back, she's mine. He essentially claimed her. He was trying to claim Beth. Like, it's the same thing. There's no difference. If one of them like little boys, Carl would be just as fucked as he was with the claim gang.
John Riley in the chat room says, yes, so exciting, and he agrees. It reminded him of a season 2 kind of nothing episode.
That being said, too, it still was a good episode. I don't think she did a horrible job. I think she did a pretty.
I think it was a great episode. I think in the same way you can say that on a Beatles album, the people that like Ringo, you need to do the Ringo songs. The Ringo songs are great. I love the Ringo songs. But they're not my favorite cuts on the album. And I'd say that's what this episode was. I think they did it really, really well. I think she pulled it off well. In general, her acting was some of the better in the episode. I personally didn't like the cop. I didn't think she was engaging enough. But
she wasn't menacing enough, I don't think. And I questioned the whole time why anybody hadn't taken her out yet.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't. That should have been Shane. I keep bringing up Shane, but that seemed to be symbolize what a group would have turned into with Shane in charge, probably, or something like that out of control situation of no, 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 it's eat or be eaten, sort of.
Kind of like what happens in 28 Days Later with the military guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to repopulate the world eventually, so might as well start now.
Do you know what I just saw? Just a quick side note. I just saw. Speaking of zombies, I saw World War Z for the first time. I didn't like it.
No, it was.
It was comical. It was almost comical.
I can't even get in. I don't even.
I don't want to talk about that. We'll do a separate podcast on.
Let me just say the book is amazing.
I would like to read the book. The movie came off comical with all the people.
The book's a real easy read too because it's done in small vignettes. It's like a series of a whole shitload of vignettes that are really entertaining. So
John says he thinks the Claimers are worse. I think the Claimers are worse because their intentions. I agree with John. I think the Claimers are worse because their intentions are worse in the sense of that they're not looking out for anybody's well-being, at least on some basic level. These people, whatever you want to call them.
Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. I don't think they're looking out for everybody's well-being.
A little bit. A little bit.
No, the doctor doesn't care a little bit. The doctor told her specifically. We'll get into what the doctor, how the doctor doesn't care. The doctor's only in it for one person. And that's the way it is. The whole for all of them, they're only in it for themselves. She's trying to keep her power. Yeah, sure, go ahead, rape the other women that we have. That's fine, as long as I stay in power and in control of this hospital. So.
I also think, and I want to make it clear, I like this episode. I think it was really great. I think it's kind of like when people are arguing about, oh, that's bad pizza, that's good pizza, or good ice cream, bad ice cream. We're dealing with a really good season of The Walking Dead here, a really good season and a half coming back from, or 2 seasons, with season 4 being pretty damn good as well.
Let me ask you a question, Phil. What do you think the difference is between the claimed gang and the teach them all the way, or teach them a lesson, boys? Because there's teach them a lesson, then there's teach them all the way. So what's the difference between that and what she was doing by beating Everybody Hates Chris?
I think Joe, the claimer guy, I think he does it more entertainingly.
Oh, she was having fun doing it. That's why
I just mean to me. I'm more entertained by the claimer.
Oh, right. Of course, Mayor Joe Hale is the best at it. That's why he does it in every friggin' thing he's in,
Yeah, he's awesome. He keeps me going with the claimers. He makes me want to see those guys more. I kind of wish he survived, so he'd be I wish Rick ate another one of them and Hale ran off, so he'd still be out there.
No, turn that into like a Governor stalking or a Gareth stalking. Another one.
But I do have to say, to answer your question, there isn't much of a difference. I think at concept, I hate to say this, but I think at concept the claimers system is a little bit more fair.
At least it was out in the open. It was obvious what it was. It was, there was not. They weren't hiding behind anything. There was no, it was nobody's going to take us in. We're on our own. People like us. Rapists and murderers, probably people who escaped from the prison or whatever. Yeah, like there's no real difference between them, and there's no real difference between the cannibals in any of these groups. They're all
Is it just me, or did you? I mean, I found myself when they were talking a lot about their system in the hospital. I couldn't help but think a little bit about the claimers. I don't mean to bring. I mean, it's not about this episode, but it just made me think of a similar concept that they. We're basically, because I kind of agree with you at core that basically they're the same thing. They were ultimately doing the same thing, except they were saying they were claiming people's lives in the using the banner of we're helping people. Yeah, we're helping people. They're the other extreme. Instead of being
no, sorry, Joan, you can't leave. You can't go be on your own. We've claimed you to be a fuck toy for this guy, so he stays in line and he can bring more people back to him.
Fuck toy, I like that. Sorry.
It's no different. What would Carl have been? Carl would have been the same thing, only he's a little boy instead of a grown woman. Or Beth, she's not a fully grown woman yet. as far as we know, she's still a virgin. She's about to get raped in that guy's office.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get into the episode now that we know we discussed it a little bit of what we took out of it, and we'll think about these people and how relevant these people really are to our long-term story. Is it? I mean, it's all spoilers here because we can talk about the end of the episode before we talk about the beginning of the episode. Carol's gonna kill all these people, right?
Carol and Beth combined. I mean, we saw her evolution. She was calm, cool, collect by the end of the episode. There was
ready to stab some people with needles.
Yeah. She was about to. I think she was going to go kill the doctor. I don't think. Well, yeah. I just think
we'll get to that eventually. But I agree with you. I think by killing the doctor, that drives that place into mad chaos.
Correct.
Then you don't have the trap for the mouse to run in. It's like setting up a mouse trap without cheese. That's the thing that keeps them bringing in people. Oh, we have a doctor. What happens if you get sick? We can take care of you.
Yeah, that's one of the things for sure.
So yeah, we got a lot of people in the chat room or in the watching us live. Thank you very much for checking us out. What did you guys think of this episode? I'm curious. Is this, like I said, I'm not a fan of the Ringo songs, but if you're a Beth fan and you've been clamoring for Beth, this gave you a lot of Beth, and she was awesome in it. I'm just not. I've never been the biggest fan. If I was ranking my characters, she'd be low on my give a shit scale because I think the way they've written her has kind of been all over the place. But so the most I've liked Beth was last season with Daryl. So I guess I'm on an all-time high of liking Beth. And
they gave her some chops in this episode, which was good. They allowed her to shine. They gave her some leeway.
John says, "Is that what they saved her for a sex toy?" Perhaps. It seemed that way for a little while. The way the doctor and that other guy was looking at her.
The cop all but admitted it. The cop all but admitted it. You can offer us absolutely nothing, but companionship for the guys that are going to go out and do what they need to do to make this place thrive. She told him, you're useless aside from your vagina.
Carol equals the best transformation. Absolutely, we've said that before. Carol.
I don't think we've fully seen Beth's transformation yet.
Oh no, I think this is the same Carol, but I agree.
Start of it, because even when she was with Daryl last season, she was still all trying to just be like his psychoanalyst and shit, and make him feel better about himself. And yeah, she started to like learn the crossbow or whatever and track and stuff like that, but she still wasn't like. She was still just very novice at that stuff, and before she really even had a chance, she was run over or taken by these guys. So,
what are we calling these? What are we calling these guys? The hospital bandits? We got to think of a name to call these guys. I don't know, but we'll figure that out. And Jojo Mopeet says she was definitely out to get someone. Yes, Beth was gonna stab someone. She was going full Norman Bates with that needle. So let's get into this episode. It starts off, and John pointed this out in the chat room as well. It started off with I think one of the best scenes of the episode was this first scene, and I overheard the Talking Dead, Beth there on the Talking Dead, talking about how they set this up to kind of mirror the opening scene of the original. The first episode with Rick waking up and looking at the world, and I thought visually, I think visually again, we've talked about this at the first few episodes. The visually this season's at an all-time great. The way everything's framed, the way they use certain filters on the way things look during action scenes, it couldn't look cooler. And the way the city looked was really awesome as she wakes up in the hospital and she looks out the window. And she doesn't know where she is. She's freaking out. She's banging on the door. Let me out! What's in the box?
Yeah, but aren't you at least like a little happy that when you wake up from being blacked out, at least you're in a locked room? Like there's zombies out there. If anything, like at least that's the safe. Like, okay, at least they had the wherewithal to lock me in so that if something happened out there, I was still safe in here.
It's true. I would obviously feel a lot safer waking up in that kind of situation, but. I mean, maybe she hasn't dealt with the whole Terminus issue, so she's not even shooken as much as the rest of the group is to outside people. But she has to be obviously a little bit leery of this situation. This seems a little because the whole first part of this episode, before you figure out exactly what's going on, plays like a bizarre, absurdist stage show you see on some random avenue in New York. It was just set up really weird, and a doctor comes in. You didn't know if she was you knew, but it could have been in dream, could have been in reality, and
yeah, a doctor and a cop. The red flag right there. You see that shiny silver badge.
Yeah, we know how you feel
blue pressed uniform, and along with the whole tool belt. It might have even been a radio around her waist. I'm not sure. Big red flag right there. Really, in this environment, you're still wearing that. That makes you a huge target to almost anybody living on the outside who's a little scrupulous or unscrupulous.
Now, someone wants to know at the beginning of the episode, John wants to know, would we feel differently if this episode was same episode, but it was Maggie or Carol in Beth's place in the episode? Yes. The answer is yes. Yes, for me it's yes.
It might have been a little bit. I might have not been a little as bored, but it still would have been a very slow moving episode.
Now, just that brings up a bigger question.
Because I see the whole thing going completely different. Maggie isn't going to sit around quite as nicely as Beth.
No, definitely not. But my question is,
how did she act with the governor?
Especially at the beginning of the episode where Beth's just being so polite about everything when she's dealing with these people. Oh, okay. But my question is with this, do you prefer The Walking Dead when we have all of our characters together and we're jumping from story to story, or do you prefer The Walking Dead when it focuses on one character?
I like it just the way it is. Every now and then throwing in 1 or 2 episodes a season where it does do this. I feel like it doesn't burn me out on any of the other characters as quickly. I like it. I really do like it. I like the in-depth focus of character. It allows for so much more development and so much quicker of a development of a character and progression of the storyline.
Me too. It's. I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan, and it's opened up a can of worms. We're not talking about the finale here. It's why I was such a fan of Lost, especially towards the beginning, because each episode had both going on at the same time. You had the backstory. I love character depth like that when you get into characters, and I think and that's why I didn't hate this episode, because I feel like this was a growth episode for Beth, but she's not my favorite character, so I wasn't carried through. Oh, nice. We have one of our commenters watching live, Big Sexy IND 2011. The best scene for Beth when she was escaping, killing the zombies at the end. Killing zombies. I agree. She was kick ass at the end of the scene. I think this episode and I think that was the way it was set up. I think the end half when she went all John McClane and went down the elevator shaft. But again, we'll get to that. So the doctor and Dr. Steven, his name was, and Officer Dawn talk about how she was found hurt and she was being attacked by walkers. And Beth then asks if the other man, if Daryl is there too, and they say no, she was alone. And now that we did you a favor, and now that we did you a favor, you owe us.
Yeah, they got right into it too. Like there was no hiding it, no foreplay, right?
No, and that's what I mean at the beginning. It was set up very much, and this is, again, I like, this first scene was probably one of my favorite scenes of the episode. It's so weird. You're like, what is going on? Right. It just had sort of a strange feel.
Well, I wasn't really like, what is going on? Beth got picked up off the street, kidnapped, brought to this place, and yep, you owe us now. Sounds like they're gonna do some pretty horrible shit to her. They're not letting her go. That was immediately she was a prisoner. Immediately it's a bad colony. I'm sure there's many more bad colonies than good colonies.
Big and Sexy says, I think the episode would be hilarious if it was Michonne in Beth's place. Yeah, I think so too. Michonne would be fucking hilarious with these people. What the fuck is wrong with you people? She'd go all penny on these people.
Andrea in her place would be like, all right, I'm down. Let's do this.
Andrew, yeah, I'll join you. You seem like you're good people. I see you look really handsome.
Lori too, if you remember Lori on the farm, she was like, "We're women. We should be in the kitchen cooking and cleaning for our men out there." You know?
Andrew would end up being hooking up with the doctor. Would be like, the doctor's a good man. He's a good man. You don't know Philip. He's a good man.
Yeah, cop, whatever his name was.
But Michonne would be the best in the situation. She's so hilarious in that type of situation when people are going bullshit. Like at the end of last episode when Gabriel was trying to be like, yeah, I see voice. Yep, you're gonna see voice. You're gonna hear. Yeah, that's gonna happen in a while. So
it only would have been better if she turned around and gave him a ha ha.
You know she's thinking that though. And John says he'd rather small flashbacks of characters themselves. He really liked the Bob flashbacks. Me too. Preferably, I think what's great about The Walking Dead is it has almost a freeform style, and especially as it develops. That's why I'm not. Could be completely different. Joe and I are going to do a podcast completely on the spin-off thing and what we think about this eventually. But this is what scares me a little bit about the spin-off. I think The Walking Dead could work if sometimes our main characters weren't the focus and we were just somewhere completely different and for a couple episodes. I'm not sure if we need this spin-off. I'm excited for it, but it would be interesting to see if.
Well, like the webisodes, for example. Like if you log on to AMC and you check out the webisodes, they're little vignettes of what's going on in other places, and some of them are pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch them. I just hope that it doesn't take away anything from.
They won't. They're done. I think the same people. They're done by the same people. They're perfect.
But my question is it going to be completely different people?
I hope so. I hope it's why does it have to be another group in Atlanta? Why does it have to be the same someone?
Exactly. Why
can't it be people in California, Seattle?
That's what I want. I want something
Hawaii, Europe.
Exactly. Everywhere. Somewhere every week it's a different place.
Well, I don't necessarily think every week it needs to be a different place.
It could be like Tales from the Crypt, the Walking Dead edition. Tonight we have a story about. No, I'm kidding.
Well, they could certainly expand it. They could set it up that way to expand it, like, show a place in Seattle for a few episodes, and then show a place in Australia or something.
Or set it up like American Horror Story, where you have every season of the spin-off series be a different location.
That'd be pretty cool too. I could be down with that. But they'd have to do a good job of telling us a complete story and not dragging out mundane shit like someone dying for 4 episodes. Like stand that. Like, just get on with it. Kill the fuck.
So back into the episode after our opening, Dr. Steven brings Beth around and shows them this old man who's injured and found under a bridge, dehydrated. He goes and pulls the plug because he hasn't shown any improvement, and Beth's just sort of dealing with the whole situation. It's similar to what Bill and Ted say to Billy. Billy, you're dealing with time travel with the greatest of ease. Beth deals with all of this so well. She's just like, oh.
A little freaked out by it, but yeah, she takes it well.
She has a good attitude about all this, and Steven stops and Beth helps him out with the body and kind of goes right into her role as being orderly, and Steven stops to talk to our head of our group here, Dawn, and Dawn. What did you think of Dawn? Did you like Dawn as a character, Joe?
As a character? No, of course not. She's an awful fucking person. As the actress playing the character, she was mediocre. She wasn't like super gripping, but no, the character itself, pretty awful person. It's a good foil for our sweet and innocent Beth, but.
Oh, Beth's so sweet and innocent.
I mean, everybody in that place, with the exception of I Hate Chris, is just awful. An awful, awful person. Noah, okay. I like how all these people, they have these biblical names. Noah, Gabriel, Rick, Carl.
They're the only people that survived, Joe, because of the protection of...
Unreal. Andrea.
Andrea Zucker. Okay. So Beth sees a janitor. I don't know why we focused on this janitor, but Beth looks down the hall and sees the janitor. Is that Noah? Did she see Noah? Was that the guy we see later that she looks down? Okay. So that was she looks down and makes eye contact with eventually the guy that ends up being her friend down the hall. And who I liked. He was one of my other favorite parts of the episode.
Well, you know, immediately you're not looking at one of the higher ups. You're looking at a plebe, like what you've just been told you're going to be.
And we're jumping around tonight, and that's fine because this episode is less important to go. We're going to yada yada some of the action, and I think it's important what we're talking about because it's more important how things like this affect our main story. And do you think that this obviously means that Beth's friend Noah there is who's with Daryl when they meet back up with the group?
I'm thinking it's either that or it's Morgan.
Morgan. It's either him or Morgan. It seems with the Carol connection and that they were close to the hospital, I'm assuming, or in some situation that's why I'm guessing it would be more of a shocker for it to be that guy.
How far away is this church from Atlanta? I mean, actually, if you look out that window of the building, like they're on the outskirts of Atlanta. They're like in Revere or some shit. You know, like they're not exactly in Atlanta. You know, so.
The geography is one of the things I'm not completely.
Well, yeah. Sorry, there might not be a Revere outside of Atlanta. I don't know any small towns outside of Atlanta. Revere's a little bit outside of Boston. Sorry.
Remember when in season 1 when Rick and the group jogged from Atlanta proper to the middle of nowhere in like 45 minutes. As it's getting dark. So I'm not sure how big everything is. I think the zombie apocalypse has shrunk things a bit.
You know, and at one point, Rick leaves the prison and goes back to his hometown with Michonne and Carl. So, like, they might still just be a couple miles outside of Atlanta, like 20, 30 miles outside, you know. I didn't see the map when I couldn't get a good focus on the map that Abraham gave him.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's been our best clue to exact locations of actually seeing a map to DC and stuff.
Right, because Daryl got back pretty quick. He was only gone for a day.
We have a few more comments. Jojo Mojo Pete says Dawn is nuts. Yeah, I think Dawn's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
A few rounds shy of a full clip.
I hate Beth likes Noah because everyone that she likes meets a bitter end. Says
yeah. All right, we know his fate.
Oh my goodness!
Eligible bachelors.
Yeah. Poor guy, poor kid. And John Riley says Noah and Morgan could meet Rick and Daryl, and I agree. It might be a connection where everybody meets up together at the same time and they go to save Carol and Beth. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So as we said, Steven stops to talk to Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs Dawn, and Beth sees the janitor at the end of the hall, and then she sees another room. She walks over to look inside, and she sees a woman, but the woman shuts the door. And at the beginning, they're trying to fuck with you enough to make you think this could be a normal situation. These people could be normal. We see a janitor. We see some crotchety old woman.
It's not normal immediately once cop lady walks in. Like, once you see her in her cop uniform,
I know there
are no police officers anymore. There just aren't. If you're wearing a police officer uniform, I believe you are a con man. I believe you are there. You are in a costume. You are there to do me harm at some point. I'm not talking about now. Well,
this is what you said about
now. But in the zombie apocalypse, anybody in a police uniform is.
So you're saying Joe Dirty Locks hates the cops. Don't trust anyone in a uniform, is what you're saying.
I can't exactly say that.
No, we're kidding.
Really good people that wear uniforms, and I know some people that are really
we're joking. He clarified that he was talking about the zombie apocalypse, and you said the same thing. I'm just joking because you said the same thing about Gabriel as well, for the same reasons. You see someone still dressed as a priest in this world. He's probably a con man.
Right. Like, and I don't necessarily think it's the same if I saw someone in like a a burqa, I wouldn't think they were a common. I think that they were still devout. And I'm not saying I wouldn't think that he was devout if I finally got to know him, but I'm just thinking that anybody that's wearing certain types of uniforms that suggest power over people or an elevation of themselves above others, it's being worn at this point to con people, to give them a sense of, for her, intimidation, power, control. For Gabriel, spiritual, being above you, being closer to God, needing him to get closer to God, stuff like that. Like, there's
Like
all
if,
the implications that come along with certain uniforms that just would make me think twice, period.
like if your washing machine was going and the Maytag guy showed up, you'd be like, "I'm better than you." You're in. Oh, sorry. I was trying to think of the correct situation. I was thinking of Apple bar guys, thinking of Musketeers, something. But no, I agree. I agree with you.
If they're wearing if you're wearing an orderly uniform like what's his name is wearing and he's mopping the floors, like that's a completely different thing. He's not a con of any sort. He's
Trumps are valuable things.
yeah. I don't know. It's just I find certain particular uniforms to be at this point unnecessary. It's for a con. It's for a purpose.
It definitely says something about the people in charge. The people the guys that are still dressed like cops. They're wanting to show you, as you said, that they're not working together. They're working. They're the armies of.
They're the overlords of everybody else. They're the ones that are in charge. They have guns on their side, and no one else does.
That's what I was gonna say. They're the only ones with weapons as well.
Right. And when if you're a survivor out there in the outskirts of Atlanta, and you see this guy turn the corner in his nice shiny officer's uniform, are you going to say, "Oh, help me, officer," or are you going to be like, "This dude's about to kill me. This dude's fucking weird. Look at that shiny fucking uniform." Come on. No, that's the red flag. That's the immediate red flag. You know this place is weird once she walks into that room. That's it. And they do a good job to continue to set that up with the woman slamming the door real quick when Beth tries to look in the room, killing the other patient immediately. You just woke up. Come with me. We're going to go show you what we do to people who don't wake up in time.
Joe, I wouldn't be doing much of anything. I'd be dead so quick. I'd be dead in that first wave of people. I'd be chomp, 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 boom, boom, boom.
Have to be like Eugene.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be saying that I know the secret of the puzzle. The secret of the zombie apocalypse is an ocarina of time in Gerudo Fortress. You just need
and when you blow it, you get the Triforce, man.
And that will kill the zombies, and then we can start again fresh, and we can get out of this foobar situation, Joe. So she sees the woman, and the woman shuts the door on Beth. Beth follows Steven further into it as Steven takes off his blanket, takes off the blanket on the corpse, and unstraps it from the bed. And then we see how they deal with the dead bodies. They don't bury anybody because they don't go outside. They just dump them down the elevator shaft.
That's awesome. It's the quickest way down. Zombies kind of eat a little bit of them. Takes care of some of the smell.
But doesn't it have to? No, it takes care of the smell. What do you pour? Are you pouring down Febreze?
Right? And that would smell even more rancid. Febreze, friggin' corpses. Ugh. No, have you ever opened up a compost?
Oh yes, I have.
When those elevator doors open, the steamy crap that would flutter into that hallway, the smell would be unbearable. Those people would have every time they walk over to that elevator, they'd be puking down into it.
Yeah, it'd be in the hallways.
I mean, I got to imagine at some point now in this universe, they're pretty used to the smell of decay and horrid, rancid BO and stuff.
So you think it's like that commercial? If you have pets, no one knows the smell of pets. You get used to the smell of pets in your house.
It must be. Everything else there is completely clean, but that elevator shaft opens. It's going to smell everything up. That's a chimney of odor right there. Yeah, it's an oven. It's a dark, warm place to decay and compost zombie flesh.
And did you have any doubt when we saw the pit, the Sarlacc? we keep referring to the Sarlacc pit here. This is like our third Sarlacc pit reference in 3 weeks here. When you saw the pit that they're going to climb down in Star Wars: A New Hope here, did you have any doubt at some point in this episode someone would be falling in that? I mean, you knew it was happening. At least I did right from the beginning. I go, someone's falling in that. I wrote in my notes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also thought that Copper Chick was gonna like run into that hallway as they were going down. I thought it was gonna be more urgent at that point.
I kind of thought Copper Chick was going to be Dawn was going to be dead at some point tonight. Could you, John wants to know, could you imagine if Rick still dressed like a sheriff? We have talked about that. Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine that. Rick figured that out right quick. He's like, no, I got to take this shit off. He tried for a little while. He did try for a little while, but then he's like, I can't do this anymore. But Carl still wears. Does Carl still wear the hat?
Yes, Carl still wears the hat, but it's different. That's He's a little boy wearing a hat, that's completely different.
Yeah, that's his Indiana Jones hat.
Yeah.
If it's like the hoarders who live in
where his dad's from, what his family was before.
And John also adds about the smell. It's like the hoarders who live in filth. They get used to it. You get used to that smell, and yeah, exactly. They kind of just get used to the stink, but that's still got to stink like serious. Monkey ass. Oh my god.
Well, Beth would have been puking. Beth would have been.
Yeah. No doubt. Beth, Beth for the first time smelling that would have had some sort of reaction to that. But again, Beth's dealing with time travel at the greatest ease again. Sorry, I can do it one more time. I get 3 times at it, and she's just like, oh. She's like, yeah, so you don't bury the bodies? This is nice. Oh, that's nice the way you just drop the bodies down there. I'll help you. Okay.
No, well, he also explains we can't get outside. Like, there's no going out there to bury. It's not safe to do that.
Yeah, eventually at the end of in a little while, he brings her downstairs and he shows her that he's a huge...
But they always tried... She may have had to dispose of bodies, but she's always tried to... The group has always tried to bury them whenever possible. At the prison, they buried them.
Yeah.
At the church last week, they buried them.
We bury real people.
Yeah. They're buried. They're 15 floors down. Yeah.
So some guy tells Beth that she looks better now that she's getting some breakfast. The officer known as scumbag sexual assault guy, bad guy number 3, Gordon. He mentions that he saved her, and she should show some, appreciation towards him. Beth brings some food to
especially if you want some more food.
Yeah, and this is where he explains the situation. Nothing's for nothing, baby. You want some food, you better be ready to eat some sausage. You want to do this,
we can't have any pudding until you
don't eat your meat. Yeah, exactly. You got to eat your meat if you want to eat your pudding. So Beth decides to just bring food to the big dock, and Beth brings some food over to Steven in his office. He mentions being very bored without any research, and Beth says it's lucky to be bored in the zombie apocalypse. You're very lucky to be bored in this situation. Yeah. To be safe enough to be bored. Is that the hope, Joe? Is life good when you're safe enough to be bored?
No, that's when you're about to die.
Especially in this world,
in that world, in the zombie apocalypse world, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
In the zombie apocalypse world, if you're at the point where you're bored and you're feeling that safe, you need to re-examine your whole surroundings, reevaluate everything that's going on in your area, and figure out a way to make yourself even safer and less bored.
You almost have to go into every day with the perspective of a Klingon. Today is a good day to die. That's the way you go through the zombie apocalypse.
Once you're bored, you cut your fingernail too short. It gets infected, and the next thing you know, you're eating your whole community.
Yeah.
Like no, no. There's no getting bored. Everything you do, you have to do with complete care. You cannot get lazy, and you can't get. When Rick says to Carl, you are never safe.
No, or your barbecue. If you rest for 1 second, you're Bob sitting on the tree and getting
exactly. There is no rest. They're all sitting in that church drinking, and Bob goes and takes a walk on his own outside in the middle of the night.
Last week. Joe Dirty Lock says there's no drinking in the zombie apocalypse. Zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. And Big and Sexy says the pervy officer was awful. I think he was awful in a lot of ways. I think he was so stereotypical pervy officer. And they're like, oh, we need to. He was a little too genuine. The actor pulled off pervy.
He used all my lines, dude.
Yeah, he was like. It was like hanging out with you in 1999. Oh. It totally was. It totally was.
I think I used at least 4 of those same lines one night at Dodge Street. You know. Like.
So she gets away from pervy
you owe me for that woo woo.
as Joe's girl hides in shame in the background there. She's like I'm his maid. I'm not.
I got her.
Yeah, that's his cousin hanging out over there. So
I ran her over with my car. I nursed her back to health, and I told her, "Hey, you owe me for saving your life, sweetheart." Now you want some pudding?
You mean it's not a zombie apocalypse? You lied to me.
So they're listening to a record in there, and Beth comments about how it's been so long since she's listened, and they're listening to some music. Steven thanks her for the food and says and asks her why she doesn't have none. And Beth says the more she takes, the longer she's going to be here, and she doesn't want to owe any more than she has to.
Yeah, I ain't sticking around. I'm out of here. As soon as you let me go, I'm gone.
And as
she knows she has to stay. Sure, her stay is not optional to an extent. She knows that, and that's why she says it. She says, I'll go as soon as I'm done paying off my debt.
Joe, and I'll take you this. As pervy as this officer was, I found the doctor just as pervy. But he did it more sly. It was like hanging out with me in 1999. He was trying to get to know her in that pervy way. Like, oh, I'm gonna get to know you, and he was gonna make his move later.
Yeah.
I really do think the doctor was looking at her like food a little bit too. A little bit like, oh, look how bright and shiny you are. Ooh, you look really nice.
Oh yeah, everybody in that place is looking at Beth like food. Cute little blonde girl. What was she? She's what, 16, 17 years old?
I don't know.
All the rapey guys in that place are looking at her like meat. The doctor's like, oh my God, maybe I can work this. Maybe I can tell them I won't save any more people unless I get the cute little blonde. I haven't asked for any girls yet.
You should have been mine.
But I got a feeling he will get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think there's some more stuff's going to go on with this. This isn't going to be a one and done situation with these people. We're going to end up having some sort of interaction with our main group and these hospitalites. Again, we don't have a name for these people yet. We don't know what to call them yet. The Dons. Yeah, whatever. So Steven tells her to part of his meal. Come a little closer. Then Dawn comes in and breaks everything up. She's such a cock blocker. But Dawn keeps cock blocking the doctor, and coming in and saying, we have a new patient. Some guy fell from the apartment building. Oh, he fell. Steven says he's a loser, not worth saving. Dawn wants him to try to help save him. Steven tells him they have little resources right now. Dawn says the hell with it, goes ahead, and this was one of those random things. She just out of nowhere smacks Beth in the face.
Well,
apparently she doesn't like her character either. She's like, I'm so sick of you, Beth, and she just smacks her, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think he was making a point to. I think what we were seeing, and I was getting the impression that Beth was already promised to the doctor.
Right, okay.
That's what I was getting the impression, because at one point, rapey copper dude, is like,
you should have been mine.
You should have been mine, and Joan will be mine again, too. So I think that the arrangement was, and the chickie cop Dawn says, you're good for nothing. You have no purpose here but to serve the men, so the men can do the job that they need to do to make this place thrive. And then she's put right back with the doctor again.
Yep.
Not given over to one of the rapey cops. She's given back to the doctor, which is where she's given each time. So I think the deal already was made. This is the doctor's chick. He gets Beth.
And she's being a little bit, Dawn's being a little bit, screw your property, just kind of because she's pissed off the doctor, just hitting.
You don't want to do what I tell you to do. I'll make your pretty little girl an ugly little thing, and smacks her and opens up the wound that was on her cheek again. That's the point, and I think that's what Beth realizes kind of in the end.
Now, for now, we're going to refer to these people as the custodians. So the custodians continue here.
Custodians.
Yeah, that's our first one from the chat room. Until one clicks, we'll just go with whatever people post. So Beth's brought back to her room.
How about we call them the scrubs?
The scrubs. Oh, I like that one even better. That's a good one.
Uniforms with the suits.
Yeah, because it did have a little bit of scrubs feel. I felt like Zach Braff could have come out of any. This is my love, or something like that.
Everybody hates Chris as a young chocolate bear. I can't think of his name.
Turk, Dr. Turk.
Yeah.
Dr. Turk. So Beth brought back to her room. Steven tells her that Dawn is just always in a bad mood, and Beth looks. Was it in her pocket or under her pillow? But she finds a little a lollipop.
It was in the scrub top. She had gotten blood from her face when the cop smacked her on her scrub top, and the doctor was like, I had Noah bring a new shirt because you need to change. Dawn is an anal OCD freak and likes everything clean. And so she finds it in the shirt pocket there, or folded into the shirt.
And we might not know it later, but hold the thought. This lollipop becomes really gross later. This lollipop becomes I don't even want to think about this lollipop later. So
yeah,
we'll get to the lollipop. So it was just interesting to it got introduced here so we could have that scene later.
Yeah.
If someone in a writer's room was like, oh, you know what we
sour apples, huh?
We could use a finger.
I like them sour apples.
And yeah, it was a sour apple too. Oh god, it's horrible. So two officers bring a girl in, and it's a woman whose arm's been bitten. And Steven goes ahead and gives the girl some anesthetic, and they go all Herschel's leg on her, and they cut her arm, and we get sort of like a graphic scene.
Oh, and they don't even give her a choice about it. She basically says, no, let me fucking die. I don't want to be saved. Don't take my arm. Don't touch me. It's over.
She didn't sign a DNR, Joe.
That is her DNR. Unconscious.
She was under duress. We have to step in and help her. Because
you don't think she signed the DNR when she ran away from the place in the first?
I think so. I'd
rather live out there amongst them than stay here with rapey cops.
And no, I'm just fucking with you. So they cut her arm off.
The rapey cops, yeah, the rapey cop group.
And Beth, that's good subsection of the scrubs. We have the rapey cops, and then we have Dawn and Steven. So Steven goes ahead and gives the girl some anesthetic, and they cut her arm off. Beth says she can't help with this.
It's Oz meets ER.
But Steven tells her to come here and hold her down. You got to come here and hold her down. And Beth and Steven's cutting her arm off, and Beth can't look. She cuts. Blah! Now Beth enters the cleaning room, and she starts. And this is where she meets Noah. And she asks Noah if she's okay. And this is, as Big and Sexy pointed out, this is where Noah's doomed because him and Beth share an attraction.
Well, yeah, he also points out to Beth, did you get that lollipop I sent you?
Yeah, so he already had a crush on Beth, which is understandable, because she's the first non-evil person he's brought, or really injured person he's seen in a while, and they're both young, and they had a good connection when they talked. So
Beth's kind of hot, dude.
Yeah, no, Beth is kind of hot, and I'm more of a Maggie guy, to be honest with you. I'm more of a, but if I had to pick one of the girls,
Abraham's chickie.
Yeah.
Rosalita. I'm a Rosalita guy.
You're a Rosalita guy, and
she's a hard ass, and yeah, I'm a Rosalita guy.
And I guess I'm a Daryl girl. I'd be a Daryl girl.
Well, that's a Daryl, a Rick, or an Abraham are all.
Yeah, there's a lot of good choices on The Walking Dead.
And Glenn, what's wrong with Glenn?
Nothing wrong with Glenn. Nothing wrong with Glenn. Nothing wrong with Glenn. You know.
I'm definitely not a Bob fan or a Tyrese fan. Like, I'm sorry, Tyrese got a nut up at some point. Eugene, yeah.
Do you like the mullet? Are you into the mullet? If we were playing that playing that game, I mean I think Glenn's cuddly. I wouldn't mind doing a little cuddle with cuddle. Okay, we're off track here, but but I would say, like, from a girl standpoint, I'm more of a Maggie Michonne fan rather than a Beth fan. But okay, so Beth enters the cleaning room and she meets Noah, and Beth says she's fine, and they get some new clothes. They talk about the lollipop. Noah shows the giant scar in the leg and says that these people help people, and they're only helping people to return so that they can get other people to return the favor.
He goes even further than that. He says they're not just helping people; they're only helping weak people. They're not people that can't fight back, people who aren't strong enough to overthrow their power structure.
Again, it's like, as we were saying, it's like that mafia thing where they step in and in the old school, or what you see on the television of the mafia, where you're doing video games, you go in there and you bust up people that need protection, and you force them into, oh, you need to borrow money, or the way a loan shark works.
Well, I think we're missing a part of this. We saw all the cars out there with the crosses on them. But we didn't see anybody except for people in uniform. I'm thinking there's even another group of people in this that are out scouting, that throw you off of a building, that run you over and bring you back, and then you don't see them again because they're the ones that put you in the hospital to begin.
So, like, bounty hunters in Throne of a Better Word set.
Yeah, and those are the ones that weed out the weak from the strong, so that they don't have anybody come back that's going to overthrow them or start.
Maybe that's what Midnight Run 2 would be. You know, Robert De Niro hustling people, knocking people off windows or something. I'd see that movie. But I don't deny that that's a possibility, or there is more people to this group that we haven't seen yet.
Because that's also another big piece of the con too, is those crosses on the car. That's something that's, like I'm talking about with Gabriel, that's going to play on people's sense of the past, their religious beliefs, their moralities, oh, I see the cross, I'm safe. You know, all the imagery that comes with it. You know, so.
Dawn comes in after this, and she brings Beth some breakfast. And Beth mentions that she doesn't want any, and Dawn says that she's offering for food. And again, this is very much, I'm offering you food, and I'm offering you protection. And Beth said she didn't ask for help, and she says to her that to look at the good, they help people's lives. She believes that there are others trying to fix this world, and they must all work together, because when everything comes back together, people that helped people are going to be the ones that run the world.
Beth gives her the best look here. And see, this is a lot of where I think that this was good. I didn't like Beth. I thought she was not Beth. Whatever the actress's name was, up until the Daryl episodes, and then continuing into this episode, we really get to see her act a little better. I really like a lot of the facial expressions that she gave us in this episode. You really did get a sense that this girl can act, and they allowed her to do so.
Yeah, she has an excellent. Again, I mentioned it earlier from a theatrical standpoint or being on theater. She'd be great in absurdist action or real subtle humor, because she does excellent facial expressions, and she plays sarcasm and kind of like a sardonic sense of humor extremely well, that you can kind of just read her personality, and she can do a sort of duplicity of where she's putting something out and then having, yeah, that's nice, let's burn it to the ground. Even in that episode, when the way she says it in such a fun way, let's burn the place down, but still so sad in a sense. So she's good at playing parallels. And Lawfulness says, Dawn and the Custodians, it's a new band playing in town. Yeah. But don't tell them they're good, because if every compliment you get, you are forced to buy them a drink. They're like, every great song we play, you owe us.
You owe us a drink, yeah.
Owe us a drink. So, so Dawn tells Beth that she didn't ask for this either, and just shut up and eat. And Beth goes ahead and eat, and I can't help but a week removed from our eating Bob tainted meat stuff. I couldn't help but have that in my mind as Beth was eating. Not that I thought that she was eating.
Yeah, did we go over the fact that they were eating guinea pig when she brought the food to the doctor?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They were eating guinea pig.
Yeah.
Guinea pig bacon? Can you make bacon out of guinea pig?
Yeah, well, if you cut it thin enough, if it's fatty enough.
Mm.
I'm sure you got to have a lot of guinea pigs to be feeding people guinea pig all the time. They're small. There's not a lot of meat on the guinea pig. They love guinea pig down in Peru.
Now, do you think the food factor in The Walking Dead is underreported? Do you think food would be a bigger issue in this type of situation?
I think there's going to be a point when food is gone. There's going to be a point when food is going to become the biggest issue, more so than the walkers. I mean, it must already be. Food and water is already pretty much at that level, but there's going to come a point when everything's just scavenged and rotted.
Yeah. It just seems like one line.
It'll be all about Daryl squirrels and little farms and foraging for mushrooms and berries and shit like that. Insects even, yeah.
You haven't been really hungry yet, as thank you, Kitty, as Gareth mentioned. So
I gotta say, I'm gonna eat insects before I eat you, Phil. Sorry.
That's true. I would definitely eat insects before I'd.
They do it all over the world. There's a lot of protein in that. It's a little crunchy. It's gonna take a little bit of getting used to, but I'm probably there before I even start eating cats. Squirrels I'll eat.
Squirrels are quick.
Dogs and cats. I mean, we got to see more dogs. Where the hell are all the dogs? We've only seen one dog. I want to know where all the dogs and cats are.
Rats. I mean, I'd be all over the rats.
We've seen squirrels and lab or pet store guinea pigs are being farmed.
And Dawn and the Custodians' hit single will be the new hit single from Dawn and the Custodians coming out fresh is Pervy Cops.
I think rapey is a better description. Pervy is like running down the hall with your cock out.
Rapey
is lollipop shit.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I misread. It's pervy rapey cops. So Dawn tells Beth that she didn't ask for it either. Beth goes and eats the tainted meat. No, eats the guinea pig. And we see Beth mopping, and she's humming a pretty song, as Beth tends to do. And she's just humming the floor. And the girl whose arm got cut off.
Joan. I remember Joan's name.
Joan's name, yeah. She says, "Stay a bit. I want to talk to you." Beth says she's so sorry, and she says that this Dawn woman is a coward. Now, we cut to Beth washing her hands, and she looks under the mattress in her room, and Gordon comes in, our pervy rapey cop, the leader of our pervy rapey cops, and goes, "Hey, babe." And could you be more textbook pervy than this guy? I mean, again, does he really think? Hey, baby, did you lose something? It's in my pants.
looking for this.
And he grabs the lollipop, and then he licks it, and then
puts it right in his mouth. He takes it right out. He puts it in his mouth, and he's like, "Ooh, sour apples."
It was like little Nicky when they're like, "Hitler, pick out a grapefruit that's gonna go in your ass," and he just like spits on it. He's like, "This is going in your ass." It was so pervy and so rapey, and he just licks the lollipop and like a lollipop should be licked.
Yeah, and then he's like, I want to make sure I'm getting this back to its rightful owner.
Yeah.
Taste it, make sure it's yours.
He wants to go shoop diddy doop all over poor little Beth here.
Well, as he's shoving it in her mouth, I really got to say, I really liked, again.
Did you just say shove it in her mouth?
Yeah, well, that's what he shoved it right in her mouth.
He shoved it right in her mouth. He really did.
And, like, she was trying not to let it go in her mouth.
That just sounds so bad every time.
Like, her expressions were great. I thought she played that scene very well as well.
This was this was all joking aside. This was a really well played scene by both of them. It's got to be difficult, and I know because
generic. I'd say again, generic acting on Rapey Cop.
Yeah, generic writing on Pervy Cop because
Right.
it was because he played it well, but he was just traditional
Rapey Cop.
rapey cop. Yeah, rape. We need a rapey guy.
Did you see Bad Lieutenant?
Did you see Kevin Bacon in Sleepers or something? We need someone like that. Come here, boy. Come here, boy. What'd you do in prison, boy? And so Beth's walking her hand, the lollipop. Gordon sticks in her mouth, but Steven comes in and saves the day, and kind of like again in the middle of Oz when Adebisi says is trying to hook up with Beecher, and Vern comes down and says, "If you haven't watched Oz, watch Oz."
Yeah, Vern comes down. There'll be no rape here.
There'll be no rape here. That he's mine. And Beth says, he kind of breaks up the whole situation. Beth asks Steven out of all this why he even bothers staying.
Interesting how he broke it up. What are you going to do if you get sick or hurt or bit or anything like that? Like
he threatens him on
and then he said, and then the cop comes back at him with like, yeah, you may think you're slick and you may have Dawn wrapped around your finger, but she won't be around for long. And she walks in at like that moment, hears him say this.
Yeah, don't you shoot that guy right there if you're Dawn.
Yeah, you get rid of him. There's no more. He's got zero. He's looking to get rid of you. Period. He's been talking back to you a little bit, and everybody's been talking about she's losing control through the episode.
Yeah, don't you tell him to
really control these guys anymore.
You need to tell that guy to look at the flowers. You need to go, hey, rapey guy. There's someone to rape over there around that or out by those flowers. Look at those flowers.
She also knows she can't tell any of these other guys to take this guy out, because if she does, they'll say to themselves, "Oh, well, she already took out the other head cop. Now she's taking out this guy. I'll be next," and they'll just kill her.
Dawn eventually walks in and breaks up the little fight between the Dr. Steven and Rapey Cop. And Beth asks Steven why he even bothers staying. And Steven brings Beth to the ground floor because we needed some walkers in this episode. And we see that the building's basically surrounded. And that Steven is basically a pussy. Again, he's the opposite end of someone like Eugene in the sense that he couldn't, or the same as someone like Eugene, that he's afraid to be out in this world and he needed to surround himself with somebody tough, and he's willing to deal with anything that this crazy person needs to do.
Right. And then he right after that too, he brings her up to show her and how people have been acting like this since the start. They told us to evacuate the hospital as they're overlooking the burnt out Atlanta. They said, bring them to this park in Atlanta. And then they burned down Atlanta. They napalmed Atlanta as they watched, because they hadn't quite made it out. Not everybody had made it out of the hospital yet. And they watched all the evacuees get murdered by the government.
He also mentions a couple of times that Dawn wasn't originally in charge, that there was another guy named Hanson. I'm blanking on if we found out what happened to Hanson. He's obviously dead.
She took him out.
She did.
He started making poor decisions that got people killed, and she took care of the situation. And we see photographs of him and her in the office accepting awards together. So it was probably that they were partners.
Yeah, it was her partner.
And it was her place to take care of the crazy guy because it was her partner. And since it was her partner and she took care of him, the others just kind of looked up to her at that point as she was in charge.
And he talks
going to change.
He talks about the foundation of how this group started, similar to the way that the Terminus people kind of rationalized their actions. He says they were out, finally having to go out and scavenge for food, and they went out, and there was a kid that was injured, and Dawn didn't want to help the kid, and the doctor made a deal with them that if they helped the kid, then the kid would come with them and work for them, and then it just sort of caught on, and that ended up being their thing. And he trusts Dawn, and Dawn will take care of everything else. Steven says no matter how bad it gets here, it will only be worse down there. And he tells Beth to go give this patient some medicine. So we see,
yeah, or yeah, he said.
It wasn't clear to me.
He said to give her clozapine, and she went down and she grabbed the clozapine bottle and she started crushing pills with a pumice stone,
Um,
a mortar pestle. Thank you. And then she draws it up into a syringe. Oh my God, it's just weird. Really? Who taught her to do that? Like
her dad was a vet.
75 milligrams. How many shots does she have to give him? Like there was still a whole shitload left in that friggin'.
In fairness, her dad was a vet, so maybe she helped.
Yeah, no, she did a little bit, sure.
She did.
But it's not hard to figure out 75 milligrams. You take the pills out, but still, it's a lot of shots of. And she didn't even give him the whole dose that he ordered.
No, she didn't. So Noah comes in right as the man starts to have an attack in the bed. Now, and Dawn comes in quickly and stabs the guy into the head. Dawn's everywhere at all times. Dawn asks what happened to him. Noah says it was a problem caused by him when Beth left, and he's taken to the office to be disciplined.
He says he kicked out the plug from the respirator, and he seemed fine at first, but by the time he got it plugged back in, he was seizing.
Yep. And Beth made the mistake and acts Beth, but we find out, or we seem to think right at the beginning here, when we first hear about this, that Beth made a mistake and accidentally killed the man because the doctor's like, no, I told you this drug, and she's like, no, you told me this drug.
Yeah, she says that's not what happened. After I gave him the clozapine, he started seizing, and the doctor said, well, I told you to give him clonazepam, not clozapine. And she says, no, you didn't. And he's like, yeah, I did. That's when Dawn takes her and pulls her aside. And, after you hear Noah getting beat in the office by her.
And she says it was smart that Noah took the blame because she didn't want to punish Noah, but she had to anyways. But she went a little easy on him. Dawn said it's all.
I had to teach him all the way.
Yeah.
Or not all the way, but I had to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, he had to go all claimers on them for a second and teach him a lesson because he didn't play by the rules. He didn't say claimed here when it comes to Beth. And Dawn says that again goes, when we're rescued, we'll all be a part of this new world and we'll be put back together. And she's the next level of what Abraham could turn into if he doesn't watch out. And Dawn says, listen, we're doing the good thing. We're doing the good thing. And Beth just, again, this is one of my favorite lines from Beth of the Night. She's like, listen, there's no one coming. There's nothing but death. It's bullshit. You're full of shit. You're bullshit. You're bullshit. This is bullshit. I give up. Fuck you. She crouches up. She takes a dump on her desk. It's just, she's like, this is done.
Well, and this is where Dawn tells her, yeah, you know what? And that's why you're going to be, sex toy.
Yep. And Dawn kind of uses her, fucks with her mind a little bit, and she sees the scars in her wrist, and she says, are you really that strong? Look at what you did to yourself.
Yeah, you're weak. You're nothing. You're useless.
Yep.
You're going to be a sex toy, and that's all you are. You can't help us here, so you're going to please the people who will help us.
So we go back over to Noah. We see bruises all over his face, and he has cuts. He says he's okay, but we're all trapped there. And Beth tells Noah that she'll escape with them. And she says it in that awesome Beth way. Let's escape. You want to escape? Okay, let's escape.
With you.
I'll go with you. She doesn't want to stay anymore. So Noah says he can keep an eye on Dawn while Beth gets the keys. And apparently no one's... Or I guess that girl's tried to escape. We've already seen one person try to escape. So Beth enters the office and goes inside the cabinets and finds the wallet with the card inside. And Dawn sees a pool of blood on the floor, and she sees the girl with one arm dead.
Oh, yeah, the wallet and the card inside, we don't get to see what it is, but she definitely takes note of it, and she's kind of like, huh. Oh, like she definitely understands something at that point, and that's when she sees Joan's dead body on the ground, with her wrist cut open with the scissors on the floor.
Yep. And she finds a key after that, and Gordon walks in.
She gives pause because she sees that Joan's dead or about to die, and she knows exactly what that means, and she knows exactly what Joan did. Joan's in Dawn's office, dead in the dark behind the desk with slashed open wrists. This is a woman that just zombie bombed Dawn.
It sounds like It sounds like you were playing Clue there for a second. Yeah.
Beth was because she kept calm. She knew exactly what she saw, and she knew she still had to get even closer. And she went right up to the dead body to search those drawers in the desk, which is where she had to like lean over the body and get the key out of the drawer. So it was pretty brave, you know.
So Gordon walks in his pervy way, and he says, "Hello," and I hope I'm not interrupting. And Beth tries to fast talk here and says, Dawn was asking for her key." And he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, come on over here."
I just left Dawn.
You just why don't we work a little arrangement up and
I don't have to tell Dawn if you let me get a little rapey on you.
Yep, and he starts kissing her neck and getting a little touchy-feely on her.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I like about you. You're not a fighter."
And just then, Beth takes a vase or something.
Well, no. She looks over her shoulder and she sees Joan's finger starting.
Yeah, Joan's starting to reanimate, and
then we see Joan's eyes open up.
And then she smashes a glass bottle over his head and pushes him into the pit.
Was it a jar? It was a jar of lollipops.
Was it the jar of lollipops?
It was the jar of lollipops, yeah.
That's awesome.
Bashed him over the head with it, and he fell right into Joan's clutches.
Now Beth gets out of there, and she's walking down the hall with blood all over her shoes. And she walks over to Dawn, and Dawn's
she takes note of the blood on her shoes because she knows that Dawn's an OCD and likes everything clean and neat and no blood anywhere, and is going to want to know why if she notices that there's going to be problems. Why is there blood all over your shoe?
She didn't seem to notice, but because she just asked her if everything's okay, and this is the nicest she is to Beth all night. And Beth says that Gordon was looking for her, and they're back in her office.
Well, she's kind of freaked out. She is complete a deer in a headlight for a few seconds, and she's like, "Is everything all right, Beth?" And that's when she's like, "Oh yeah,
everything's okay."
Joan and Gordon wanted to talk to you in your office.
So Beth walks away with.
She stares at them again.
So Beth walks away with Noah and they walk towards the elevator, and they go down the elevator chute. And this is where it gets a little John McClane. They
tie the sheets together.
They're lowering themselves down, and Noah ties something around her waist and lowers her down like they're lowering Ray down in Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, this is where you know either Dawn's gonna bust through and catch them halfway through, or one of them's gonna slip and fall, right?
Yeah. I was surprised when eventually she gets down and then Noah comes down and he falls into the pit of despair there. I'm actually surprised Noah survived there. I almost expected him to die right there. But
I wanted the zombies came out almost immediately when they dumped the body down there, but a live human drops down.
Yeah, he's fine.
No zombies come anywhere close to them.
Apparently this is where Mr. Burns, after all these years, let all his people down this pit.
Like, it's silent in that pit, aside from zombie moans, and all of a sudden there's two humans jumping into the pile of bodies, squishing around, and talking to each other. And the zombies don't come running over.
Yeah, they have their headphones on. They're playing earmuffs. So they're chill. They smoke some zombie weed. They're relaxed. So the two get up after climbing down the pit, and they're trying their best to get out. Beth leads the way with her flashlight.
Oh, also, when she left the office, she didn't just take the key. She took
gun.
Gordon's gun.
A gun. Commissioner Gordon's gun there. And the walker grabs Noah again as they're walking out, and Beth shoots him in the head along with a bunch of other walkers, and I'm sure no one from the hospital heard that. And Noah
she just starts blasting away. She fires like 6 or 7 shots, and she gets a good 4 or 5 headshots off. She's improved.
She learned. Yeah,
Daryl taught her.
Daryl taught her well. Yeah, she learned. So Noah and Beth finally get out of the hospital together, and Beth runs forward, and Noah's behind limping, but many walkers notice the two of them as they start walking over. And Beth leads Noah over to a side of the fence with a hole in it. And then this was probably my favorite kill of the night, she curb stomps one of the walkers. She's like,
yeah.
And bite the curb, walker. And Beth is now shooting the walkers that are coming closer. and we can kind of see Dawn and
She's wearing like Chuck Taylors or like Keds or some shit when she stomps on that zombie. That's
yeah.
kind of that crushing a skull like that with one blow. That's some strength. Good girl. Good.
It was her. She studied Karate Kid Part 2, and and she learned drum technique.
History X, you mean?
Yeah.
History X, exactly, or The Sopranos even.
Yeah.
And so she totally curb stomps him, and you can kind of see Dawn in the background of this scene as we see Noah kind of escaping, and Noah runs off, gets under the fence or gets over the fence,
It's through a fence, yeah, through the gate.
and the walkers are being shot dead as Dawn and the others show up, and Noah basically, excuse me, Noah basically runs off on Beth, and Beth is
Well, no, he doesn't run off on. That's it. She's getting closer to the gate. She's hot on his heels, and Dawn tackles her to the ground, and there's 3 other cops. You don't turn around and go back. You're just going to get beat and killed.
Joe, I agree with you. In that situation, it's every man for themselves. But he did.
It's not even every man for himself. You're happy. She had a smile on her face. She was sad that she didn't make it, but she was psyched that Noah got away.
By all means, if we're in the same situation, Joe, leave me. But I will still think, as I'm like sitting there waiting for my execution, I'll think, yeah, Joe left me.
But you know I'm coming back for you.
Yeah, but you're coming back in full force. You know, you have to go get the team. You have to go get my team. Go get Rick, Daryl to go do.
I probably wouldn't go like.
Go Carol on the play.
Yeah, I would go. I would end up probably doing more like Carol did than where I don't even know where the fuck I am as far as Beth. Where the hell is Beth from that she knows where this Mercy something hospital is? You know.
Get your shit together. Come on, figure out where you are. Come on, we're not both.
Think about how many kids you grew up with that wouldn't be able to find their way out of a city 2 towns away.
Very true. Very true. It would be difficult. If you think about all transportation's done, if we had to walk from, I don't want to mention towns because it doesn't matter, but if we had to walk from random town outside city A to where we are now, it would be a difficult road, figuring out how to actually walk to get there. So we get Dawn in a Beth scene again. Dawn asks Beth who the hell she thinks she is. And Beth says that Gordon attacked her and she needed to defend herself. And Dawn's letting all this crap happen. Beth says no one's coming for them. They're all going to die. You're doing absolutely nothing. Everything you're doing is stupid. And Dawn hits Beth right back into the face, right in the same scar.
Oh, yeah, she hits her with a. She looks down at the picture again of her and her taken care of partner Hanson, and there's a blackjack on that tail, a leather like it's leather and stitched up, and there's usually like a piece of lead or a heavy piece of metal in one end and a handle on the other, and it's called a blackjack, and she just grabs that and smacks Beth across the face with it. No, there was a blackjack on the table too. That's what left, I think, the curved scar that tore her forehead right open.
Yeah, it gives her another scar. Now Beth tells Steven that this is where we figure out that Steven's as horrible of a person as anybody is.
Yeah, well, again, she wakes up and now she's like in Steven's office again.
And she says, Steven, I know what you did. You told me the wrong medication on purpose to kill that guy because you knew he was a doctor and you didn't want to be replaced because you knew if there was another doctor here, you were expendable. And I know what you did. And
he says, yeah, I did do it, and I had no choice.
I would have been kicked out, or they would have killed me, or worse.
Right. And then he says, like, Peter, when the Romans found Jesus, he's looking at some painting on the wall, and he says, when the Romans found Jesus, Peter denied knowing them. If he didn't, they would have crucified him too. He didn't have a choice. And Beth kind of thinks to herself, and immediately, like I did, yeah, you absolutely have a choice. It's just not the choice that you like. You know,
you always have a choice.
Consider the choice is: do you live right? Do you do the right thing, or do you do the wrong thing? And that's what she kind of thinks that to herself, and she grabs the. He walks out of the room, and she just like, nope, this dude's got to fucking die.
Yep. I think I should kill him. Yeah, I think I should kill him. And she goes, I understand a choice, and I'm choosing to kill him. And she grabs a little needle or a small pair of scissors or something, and she grabs it behind her back, and she starts to approach the doctor to stab him in the head or kill him or something, cut his throat. And just at that moment, someone gets.
Well, I think this too is when she realizes that she has been given to the doctor.
Yeah, I think it's the moment she realizes the doctor's just as bad as everybody else.
Right. No. Well, that the doctor is going to be all rapey on her. She's the doctor's prize.
Yeah, a little bit of that, and a little bit of just him just being evil too, and that he isn't a good guy. He isn't the guy that, because I think at some point in time she was probably thinking, I just need to convince this doctor to come back with me to my other group, because it'd be good. He'd be a good addition to our group. And this is where she's like, exactly. She thinks he's pervy. He's the same as the rest.
And I think she also is thinking, like, if I kill him, that puts a big wrench in their whole "we help people, we save people, and you owe us" thing.
And that's what I wrote in my notes. If she kills him, their whole system is that it again what we we're saying at the beginning. She takes away the cheese from the rat trap, so you can't catch rats anymore.
Right.
He's basically the whole key to their situation, to giving Dawn power, because that's her thing. Oh, what if you get sick? We have a doctor.
Yeah.
So, and then at the last minute in the episode, Beth sees out of the corner of her eye, right? She's about to go stabby on the doctor. She sees Carol get wheeled in, and she gets a big smile on her face because
It's not really a smile as much as it's like, oh my god, like both exciting awe and aw shit. What did they do to Carol?
Yeah, there was I think to me I took it a little bit more. I agree, almost an oh shit, but I got a little bit of the cavalry's here. Backups arrived. We're in good shape now. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Someone said that they had talked about. Some people knew that Carol had just left, so it wasn't that Carol was dead. She just wasn't with anybody anymore.
Right.
So, but Beth disappeared before Carol made it back to the rest of the group. So Beth hasn't seen Carol since before the prison went down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so she doesn't realize how much of a badass she is.
Right.
So, and that is our episode. Having gone through it, I think this episode introduces a lot of cool themes and ideas, and I think it's a very successful episode in what it's trying to portray. Was it my favorite episode of this season so far? Is probably, if I'm ranking them, it's probably my least favorite episode of the season.
I'd say it's my fourth favorite episode. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my fourth favorite episode of the season. But I wouldn't say I disliked it. I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. I'd say it like Joe said it. It's my fourth favorite episode of the season. So everybody, this is a good time to start to wrap things up. Important announcement. Next week's episode will be a little bit different. I'm flying out for a friend's wedding to Las Vegas on Friday, and I will not be back till Tuesday. And because of time zones and lack of internet, I didn't even think about the time zone things, you know, the fact that it's going to be on a different time period. And internet costing money at the hotel that I'm going to be at, and the actual wedding that I'm going to being on the actual Sunday of The Walking Dead. We're going to do the recap on Gulp on Tuesday when I get back on Veterans Day sometime, depending on when Joe works, whenever Joe gets out of work on Veterans Day. What was that?
I'll be home at 8.
Okay, he'll be home at 8. So we'll probably do it on that Tuesday evening. So there'll be no show live next week right after the episode, unfortunately, unless some magic we can arrange through the internet and through timing out in Vegas matched with that. Yes, my friend is getting married in Las Vegas. So, also, if you haven't already, like we said, please hit the subscribe button. Comment away whatever you thought about this episode and anything we had to say. You can check out any of our episodes at issuesprogram.com. You can subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher, depending on which one of those things you use, and you can find those links to everything in the description below. I'd like to thank everybody that was checking out the show. We had a lot of action in the chat room tonight and a lot of live viewers. We really appreciate it. You can also call in if you want to leave some voicemails at 781-990-8509. You can text that number as well, and we will read your comments or play your voicemails on the air in the show. So everybody, thank you so much. Sorry, Joe and I are both playing in pain tonight, but we could not bring this to you because we love talking about The Walking Dead, and we love that we get to share our fun of watching our episodes with so many other people. So thank you guys for your continued support and watching our episodes, and we'll continue bringing them to you.
Thank you
So,
very much.
yeah, thank you guys. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next time. And the pregnant pause as I was hitting the end button, but now I'll hit end.